Campus Voice. In Part 3 of our continuing series of Life on College Campuses, we'll be discussing alcohol and its related problems that affect college students. I'm Suzanne Rottler, your host for today, and I'd like you to meet our guests. This is Stacy, a senior English major. This is Linda, a sophomore marketing major. This is Ed, another junior marketing major. And Sean, a senior speech communications major. Our topic is alcohol and its problems. Did you know that it's been estimated that 3 out of 4 college students drink? Does that sound familiar? Mm-hmm. Yes. Do you think it's also possible that it's been determined that 25% of all college students get drunk at least once a month?
Oh, yeah.
Does that surprise anybody?
No.
Why doesn't it surprise you? How about you, Ed?
You just, I mean, it's not totally unheard of to go out once a month with a lot of just not generally going out to get drunk, but just at a party where there's going to be alcohol, you're going to have a couple of drinks and you might get hammered a little bit.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Linda?
There's plenty of parties. Mm-hmm. People are always going out. You always have friends to go out with and go party with.
Okay. Do you drink?
Yes.
Why do you drink?
I don't know. I like it. I like to drink.
What does it do for you?
Go out and have a good time.
It's a release?
Yeah. From a lot of work at school, problems at home, everything.
How about you, Sean? Do you drink?
Sure.
Why do you drink?
Because, like you just said, you have a lot of pressure to school, and come the end of the week, I think you don't need, it's not actually that you need to go out and drink for the purpose of getting drunk. It's just, it's a nice way that you can sit down and socialize and relax with your friends and have a few beers at the pub during a happy hour. And it's an enjoyable time, and I feel that if you're going to make it a habit of getting drunk or whenever you do drink, having to get drunk, then I think there's a problem. But to maybe stumble home with your friends once in a while, I think that's just, it's part of college.
How about you, Stacy?
I think at where I go to school, a Rider, that there's Thursday nights, and it's designated that's the night you go out and you just party. And you party and party and party until you can't party anymore. And that's just, it's just a way of everybody getting together, especially now because of the drinking age and everything that's going on.
Right. You said it's kind of been designated that Thursday night is a drinking night. Does peer pressure have anything to do with that everybody gets together?
Not necessarily. I think it's just more that everybody goes home on the weekends, so that's the closest to a Friday night you'll get.
Okay. Does anybody feel peer pressure is a problem?
Yeah, I believe that peer pressure is a part of it.
Do you find it a lot?
No, but if you're sitting in your room and you have a paper due, say maybe you should get started on it, or you have a test that, maybe a couple days off, and you're debating on whether to study or not, and a friend comes crashing through the door with a couple cases in his hand and says, "Come on down to my room. We're gonna sit around, drink some beers, listen to some music, and David Letterman's coming on. We're gonna have a few beers." I think that I've been persuaded into that situation a few times. So in a sense, there is a sense of peer pressure, but I don't think that it affects that everyone drinks because of peer pressure. I think that it's a part of it.
Okay.
But it's just an underlying part, not the major.
Okay.
I don't think the pressure has a lot to do with drinking. I think the pressure has to do with going out. Like there's a party or there's something going on in the pub, and no one's pressuring you to go out and slap down 6 or 7 beers. They're just saying, why don't you come out with us, have a good time, and if you want to drink while you're there, then that's what you can do. And I think also that there's a lot of opportunities to go out. Most of the social things that go on in the area, they have the McGuinn's nights, Bukarski's nights, and all those kind of things are centered at a bar or something like that. And the pressure is to go out to the social event, not out to drink necessarily.
Right. Stacy, you mentioned that with the age changing, there's like a problem. We're trying to get people together. Do you know what the college alcohol policy is?
With regard
Like with the rules and regulations that are specified for campus?
Yeah, you have to be 21 years of age to go to the pub, and there are no parties on campus that have alcohol.
Okay, you don't think there's any, there are
legally
parties, right?
Legally, okay.
Okay, there are a lot of misconceptions about the policy on campus, and earlier we spoke to Joe DiLiberto, Director of Security, and he gave us a good idea of just what the school's alcohol policy is. Why don't we take a look at the tape and see how, exactly what he told us it is, so there are no misconceptions.
Students of age are allowed to drink alcohol in their private rooms. It is not the responsibility of the college to invade their privacy. There are certain conditions, though, that are very important for everyone to realize. There should not be so many students in the room that safety standards are violated. There should not be noise in the room which would bother other people in the building or outside the building. Underage people should not be served. It is the responsibility of the person in that room to make sure that they do not serve underage people. And alcohol may not be sold at any time in residence halls. Kegs in the residence halls, because we believe that a keg would help people to try to drink beyond what they should. Once a keg is tapped, there's the feeling that you should finish the keg. And it promotes irresponsible drinking. I believe that it does that. So that was the reason why kegs are not allowed.
Do you think that alcohol policy is fair? Does it sound fair to you? Do you agree with it?
I don't know if I think this is it's a private institution. There's a lot of deaths on the roads because of, we just had, the most unfortunate thing anybody can ever hear of is the goalie for the Philadelphia Flyers, where, it's bad enough that he had a, crash and die like that, and very upsetting. But then for people to find out that he had been out drinking and this and that, it's just, these are heroes. We look up to people like this. I think that at Rider College, if we were able to drink here, I think that people would stay on campus more. And I know you say like drinking age and this and that, but I think somebody underage can get into Pekarski's pub on a Tuesday night easier than they can get into the Rider pub.
Yeah, that's
so
pretty common on campus. You hear that a lot.
And if the rules are so strict to get into our pub here, you're just driving people off campus. They're going to find a way to drink. I mean, it's it's a release. It's a good time. That they feel left out. Not that they can't drink, but even if they don't want to drink, like Ed said, they can't even go out and dance at these parties if they want. They can't even go out and sit around with their friends and drink a soda while their friends drink a beer. I think that these people, like I said, if it's easier to get into an off-campus pub where they have to drive, that you're just chasing people away.
Right. Linda, how do you feel? You shook your head that you didn't think it was fair.
No, I don't think it's fair because this is like my home. This is where I live. And I think that if I can drink at home as long as I don't go anywhere. I don't see why I shouldn't be allowed to have some friends over in my room, especially friends from campus, that we're just going to sit around, drink, watch TV, or just have a little party or something. I mean, I don't go out and I don't trash the halls, and I'm not going to get in my car and drink it after I've been drinking.
Right.
So I don't see why I couldn't just have my friends.
Okay. Stacy, Sergeant DiLiberto said that the reason they didn't have kegs was because they felt it would promote a need to finish the keg because you need a lot of people to drink it. Do you think do you think that makes sense?
I think that could happen, yes. But at the same time, I also think that if you don't have the keg and you don't have the parties with the alcohol, it's just like taking candy away from a baby. The more they want it because you're taking it away. And I found that since the parties were canceled that had the alcohol in them, that people would go to the parties wasted, that they would get drunk before they went to the parties, or even worse, they would go out and have more drunk, that they would go out and look harder for it.
Okay. Ed, how do you feel? Do you think the alcohol policy is fair?
As far as the pub, because it's an institution, a bar like any place else, and you have to follow the laws of the ABC, Alcoholic Beverage
New
Commission.
Jersey State, right?
Right. I believe that it should be 21 to get into the pub. But as far as this institution, this is a private college, and just like you can have a private party at your home and serve whoever you want, you should be able to serve alcohol at parties, and that would keep people here on the weekend, relieve the suitcase syndrome that this school has a reputation of having, and it would keep people on campus. So keep the pub legal, but there's nothing that says we can't have alcohol anywhere else, in the dorms or anywhere.
Okay, so relax the policies a little bit is what you're saying then.
Right.
Okay, it's an interesting thought. We're going to take a break right now, but we'll be back after these messages. So come on right back and don't leave.
Getting drunk doesn't make you taller. Not really. And getting drunk can't make you charming, or suave, or funny, or rich, or handsome, or sexy. Especially not sexy. In fact, it doesn't do a thing for you, except get you drunk.
Because so many Americans think getting drunk is fun, we thought you might like to join us in the National Drinking Game. Just answer yes or no to the following 10 questions. Do you talk a lot about drinking?
Only when I'm awake.
Do you drink more than you used to?
I tried you.
Do you gulp your drinks?
Only out of a glass.
Do you often take a drink to feel better? Do you drink alone?
Only if I'm stuck.
Do you ever forget what you did while you were drinking? Do you keep a bottle hidden somewhere for quick pick-me-ups?
How does he know?
Do you sometimes start drinking without really thinking about it?
Sometimes.
Do you need a drink to have fun?
I do now.
Do you ever take a drink in the morning to relieve a hangover?
Uh-huh.
Congratulations. If you had 4 or more yes answers, then you may be one of over 9 million Americans with a drinking problem.
Do you think there are a lot of alcohol-related incidents on campus, things that go wrong? Do you think there are? Have you
Yeah,
heard of much?
vandalism and Olsen.
Vandalism? Strong? Like, give
Yeah.
me some examples.
Well, when they rip out the water fountains, or they play bowling with the half-gallon vodka bottles. That's all because they have
Lots
to
of
do
broken
drinking.
glass and destroyed things. Anybody else hear of damages or
Yeah.
things like that?
Garbage cans being donated, things like that.
Does that necessarily have to do with drinking, though?
If it comes up in that context.
I don't know.
It can happen at other times too, I'm sure. It's not
It's
just
just-
because of alcohol.
Yeah, it's funny that she mentioned Olsen because I used to live in Olsen for my first
That's
3
Residence
years
Hall.
here. Yes, that's Olsen residence, one of the dorms. And we were all kind of relieved of living there. We got placed in different places. And I think it was just, a lot of guys that were just having a good time. And they did take advantage of a lot of things, and we did break things, but I wouldn't say it was all alcohol related. And I think a lot of other situations, involved us a lot of people together, just, doing college stuff, like, Animal House, going crazy.
Have you heard of other maybe alcohol-related incidents besides vandalism? People just getting too out of hand and...
Well, people get rowdy or people get jovial when,
Good word.
when they drink, and things aren't necessarily bad. They're just like more out of control than they would be. A lot of people are shy. Maybe their inhibitions are down when they drink or something like that. And
They're a lot more willing to do things after they've been
Yeah.
drinking than if they're sober.
I know a lot of times people go out, they come back with the wildest stories. Just because
They're usually like the quietest people, and after
Uh-huh.
they've had a couple drinks, it gives them a lot more self-confidence, and they'll tend to do more things.
Okay, with people breaking the policies on campus with, alcohol and things like that, how many incidents do you think happen on this campus in a given year? Give me a wild guess.
Incidents, alcohol
What kind of
related.
Alcohol-related incidents, whether it be breaking a policy or someone getting hurt or vandalism, anything like that.
I would say probably in one semester or a whole year,
In a year,
whole school year, maybe 100.
100. How about you?
Yeah, I'd say about probably like a couple of weekends. Especially like on Halloween, there's a lot of parties, or towards the end of the semester, just whenever there's a lot of parties and there's a lot of people going out.
Okay, Stacy, give me a guess.
It's got to be over 100. It's got to be. Because you figure there's how many people on campus, figure half of that in a given year.
Ed, how about you?
I don't know if the incidents that you're talking about really pertain to alcohol. A lot of times somebody will do that as a result of alcohol. Like, you're really tense because you just had like 4 midterms in 1 week, and you'd really just love to rip the water fountain out of the wall, and then maybe after a couple of drinks you just pursue the water fountain.
Well, earlier we spoke to Betsy Hollinger, and she's the school's judicial administrator, and she gave us an idea of just how many alcohol-related incidents occur on this campus every year. She's going to tell us.
Our most current information that we have is from the 1984-85 academic year. We handled, in my office, 154 cases altogether. 33 of those were alcohol-related. And what I mean by that is those were cases where students were charged with specifically violating Rider College's alcohol policy. Now, there's a breakdown within that regulation. For example, some of the students were responsible for having open containers of beer in the hallway. I think our numbers are 12 of those, 12 instances of those. 2 students were found responsible for drinking in public places. 4 students were underage drinkers. There were 4 situations where there were illegal kegs. There was a situation where beer was being dispensed illegally, and there were 8 cases where students were involved in some type of public intoxication.
Okay, are you surprised by that low number of the different little incidents that can happen? Is anybody surprised? You all guess pretty much higher.
I think that a lot of those charges are pretty ridiculous. I mean,
Why do you think they're ridiculous?
it makes judicial seem like they have nothing better to look for to bust students on. I mean, an open beer in the hallway, that's ridiculous. I mean,
But that's a violation of the New Jersey open container law.
I was talking to...
Put it in
But
a bag.
your dorm isn't public. That's if you walk onto 206, that's public. That's
Okay.
that's
private
The way
this is
the
your
school's
home.
lawyer
It's
has
private.
determined that the way they figured it out is that anything in the hallway outside of your private room is a public place, like the lounges, the bathrooms, the hallways, and I think that's the way the college came up with that idea.
So that means
For
that just
private.
anyone who wants can just come walking through your hall. Why would they have the kiosk there on the weekends if anyone can just...
Yeah, if it's public,
definitely
that's-
private.
Yeah, I was...
So you look at the campus as a private institution on the
Definitely.
hall.
Especially with the format of the school, like completely gated in. It's very private.
Yeah, you can't. If you can't just walk on, it's not considered public property.
Right.
So I don't see why the college would consider the hallway public property because the public isn't supposed to be allowed in my dorm.
Right.
Like,
True. And you know what? They're also detracting away from the fact that like the fraternities and sororities, they have they have a nice setup where it's like a private little, it's their own. Everyone's really good friends.
Self-governed.
Yeah, everything's run, and I think that's the way the dorm should be run too. I mean, we live here. This is our home away from home. Why can't we intermingle with our friends in our dorm? If it's in a controlled and I mean, if somebody's being violent or if they're breaking bottles in the hallway or if they're actually doing something wrong, then write them up. But if I'm finishing my beer as I walk to the garbage can, I don't see how I should have to go through judicial. I think that
Have you ever been involved in an alcohol-related offense?
I was caught with a keg once on Super Bowl Sunday. This was last year. I had 5 of my friends up from home, and we were sitting around my room.
Innocently drinking.
Innocently just,
Having a good time with the keg.
innocently drinking some beers. Nobody was drunk. Nobody was rowdy. We were all in my room, and we had the keg there. And I never really did understand that keg rule. If I go out and buy 12 cases of beer, I'm okay. If I go out and buy
You're
a
thinking
keg,
economically, poor
It's-
college students.
right? And they complain about garbage and mess. Well, if I have 12 cases of empty beers that I have to throw out somewhere, or just one barrel that I bring back to the liquor store,
back to
it's
the
the same amount of beer. I don't follow the saying that because there's a keg there, you have to finish it. If my refrigerator's full of beers, we might say, look at these beers, guys, we got to finish these.
Same reasoning, right?
I think that a keg is it's economical. I mean,
Budget your beer money?
Students are on tight budgets. When we're all hurting on money, and I think that the idea, if you're going to let students drink in their room, let them have a keg. I mean, I don't see. When I was my first year here, the kegs were. We used to have 7 or 8 kegs in the lounges for parties on Thursday nights. Every Thursday night, you can go from dorm to dorm and have parties.
Weekends
And I don't-
also.
Before
I
that,
think-
the drinking age changed?
True, it
is
was
that
before
right?
the drinking age changed. And I think something for you to check into is, I bet you there was less incidents then when people were allowed to drink. Then now you make it taboo to them that they're going to go out. It's almost like you said, taking the candy away from or telling, don't touch that hot stove, and he's going to touch it. So
Especially
it's,
us, because we've been there.
Right.
We've already had it.
we've had it taken away, we've had it altered, we've had it changed. It's
all you hear about
we're getting a
now is how it
runaround.
used to be.
Yeah, we're getting a runaround, and we pay good money to go here. And from the understanding I have from other people I talk to, that Rider's still pretty lenient with their drinking policy, but I
Because
think
it's a private institution.
because it is, and if it's a private institution, I think that we should be allowed to drink in our room. If you're underage, I think you should be allowed to drink. I don't think that they should be sending freshmen coming here. You know, it's a new environment. I don't think a hall coordinator should go up to them and say, here's your incident report, you have an open beer, and send them through judicial. It's rumor, word of mouth about the college. It's just you know, you're sending out bad comments about the school. You know, freshmen are here, they all of a sudden they're going through judicial. It's like, it's around their town.
Okay, we spoke to Betsy Hollinger again, and she told us just what the most commonly violated policy with alcohol-related incidents is, and she's going to tell us right now.
If you want to go by sheer numbers, the most common would have to be students being found in a hallway or a public area with an open container of beer. Number two would be situations involving public intoxication, and that situation is one that definitely concerns the college, because unlike most of the other cases that I mentioned before, drinking in a lounge, open container, underage drinking, illegal kegs, there seem to be, along with the situations involving some type of public intoxication, some other type of misconduct that the college certainly viewed in a real serious light. For example, out of the 8 cases that involved public intoxication, one of them involved an underage student being publicly intoxicated. Another involved some type of disorderly conduct along with that public intoxication. Another involved a case of verbal abuse. And then 3 of the cases involved situations where there was vandalism done. And I think you can draw a pretty fair conclusion that the vandalism may have been a result of these people being intoxicated at the time of the incident. But definitely leading the list would be the open containers. And again, what concerns us is number 2, are the public intox, which involves some other more severe type of misconduct.
Okay, do you realize how the college judicial administration, how they work for like penalizing you for infringing on the policies? Does anybody understand how that's all set up? You're shaking your
I have
head.
an idea because I've seen people go through it where security comes up, grabs you out of your room, takes you downstairs, and then tells you in the car what you've done wrong. And then you go through a whole process of you have to make a statement, and you have to, then you get a court date, and then you have to go in front of judicial affairs and
This is all on campus, right?
all
It's
on
not taken
campus.
off
All on campus. They don't notify your parents. They don't. That's up to you. And then they usually, your first offense, they'll fine you, and depending upon what degree the crime is, it depends upon how you'll be punished.
Okay, does everybody agree with that? Does anybody know anything more?
I think
No
I'm
idea.
sorry,
Everybody's got something they know.
I think it's amusing that, here we are all thinking that the numbers were like within the hundreds, and there was like 3 cases of this out of like 5,000 people in the course of a year. That happens in your average city in 15 minutes. And I think they're just going far too hard. And I think our numbers were so high because the way it's always pounded into us and blown out of proportion that there's so many cases of this and cases of that, but they never give numbers. And to hear the numbers is actually funny.
So there's actually a lot of rumors that go in, so you don't know exactly what would happen, maybe.
Well,
Do you
yeah,
know?
I think that's a problem right now on this campus is the freedom of information. That it's our students have a right to know. If, say, Ed goes through judicial for an open beer, and he talks to Betsy, and they pal it up a little bit, and he gets off with maybe a $15 fine, and that's it. And some other kid, somebody else goes through, say I go through judicial for an open beer in the hallway, and they're like, yeah, that's Sean character. He's trouble. Give him the $50 fine and put him on social probation. It's nobody knows. See,
There's no set.
I should have the right to know.
There are set rules, and we spoke to Betsy Hollinger, and she gave us the idea of how all these sanctions are set up. Okay, so she's going to tell us how the college decides what is done to those who infringe on the policy. You can take a look at this right now.
Help to generalize across the board in terms of if you violate the alcohol policy, this will definitely happen to you. You have to have a little bit of knowledge of how the judicial system works at Rider to be able to understand the different possible sanctions or penalties that may happen. The system here works on a leveling concept. Different types of conduct, depending upon the severity, are assigned different levels, 1 being most severe, 5 being least severe. Generally, most of the alcohol-related situations or instances fall in the level 4 category. What that means is the worst that could happen if a student is found responsible at that level is they could be placed on some type of social probation. The least that could happen is they would receive a written reprimand, and then they would definitely be given some type of fine. It could vary anywhere from $25 to $50, and then any other sanctions that seem appropriate. Now, most of the situations with the open container and the underage drinking, that type of thing, as I said, fall under the level 4. Generally, what happened most often was that these students received written reprimands. They received fines. I would say the average was probably around $40. Some of them were instructed to conduct non-alcoholic programs in their living unit. And by that I mean we would request, or actually mandate, that they design and implement a non-alcoholic program in their living unit. And it could be bringing in a speaker, having a Monday night football get-together with pizzas, having a movie night, something that was a little bit creative and was obviously an event that everyone could participate in regardless of whether or not they were of the legal drinking age. Another sanction, and this we try to use regardless of what level a person may be on, is required attendance at an alcohol awareness class. Now that's a class that our office, our department actually, the Judicial Affairs Office, sponsors. We hire a person off campus to come on. He or she teaches a course that generally runs for about 9 hours, and it meets 3 consecutive, for example, Monday nights for 3 hours a shot. The purpose of the course isn't to label the students as alcoholics or make them feel even more worse than they already do since they've been involved in some type of misconduct, but to provide them a forum where they can examine their own values about drinking and have a little bit of value clarification and discussion with other students who may have been involved in a similar situation. We also place students on social probation, which means we deny them certain privileges like being allowed to go to events in the student center. If they're of legal age, deny them the opportunity to go to the pub, those types of things. Sometimes if it involves vandalism, we require that they make restitution for whatever damages they may have done. So as you can see, it really runs the gamut, but I would say the most common zeroing in would be the reprimand, the non-alcoholic programs, the alcohol awareness class, and again, regardless of the level, there always will be a fine.
Okay, do you think there's a problem with alcohol abuse on this campus?
Not at all.
You don't see any problems at all?
Nothing out of the ordinary.
There has to be some, just like there'd be some alcoholics no matter where you went. But I wouldn't say that there's an overwhelming amount on campus. I'd say pretty much everyone just drinks on the weekends and keeps it under control.
Yeah, I have to agree with the consent. I just think that the problem might be in the way they enforce the rules. I think that the students are lacking being informed in their rules and their rights to know what goes on in judicial. And the drinking is, I don't see any problem with it, except the fact that, like you said, out of 5,000 students, only 3 or 4 incidents of somebody being drunk. That's minimal.
So
you're gonna have that. You're gonna have that anywhere. I don't see how there's any problem.
The administrative view is like totally unrealistic. I mean, if they ever went out into the world, I can imagine they couldn't take it all on.
Okay. Well, as we conclude our show today, we went out and we interviewed a bunch of people on campus, and we thought maybe we'd like you to see what they saw and what they felt about everything, if there's a problem with alcohol abuse on this campus. So why don't we take a look at that right now as we leave our show today. Thank you for joining us.
Not compared to what I've seen on other campuses anyway.
Campus specifically, but it's a problem like throughout the state.
Why not?
Why would alcohol be any type of problems? I see people who are, no, they're very responsible. I haven't had any problems at all. Even incoming freshmen, we don't have any problems in any of the hallways or anything.
Why don't you think so?
Because I don't see that many people drinking, and I don't see that many people abusing. They just drink at parties, but I don't see people walking around like they look like they abuse it.
Okay, because it depends on the person. I think that depending on what you like to do, I don't think it's much of a problem. Maybe to the extent that some people can't handle it. That's the only way I see it as being a problem otherwise.
Thank you. I say